All right, so time to go ahead and start up final. Oops. Wait. Where's this? Oh, duh. Sorry. My speaker turned off. I was like, where's the sound? Wait, no, don't return. Oh, yeah, I forgot I was doing like the... start playing this episode. Why wouldn't I? I've already worked this hard to get here. Here we go. So, the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything in 4 parts. Oh, I forgot I had autoplay on. Been counting on your support more than ever today. Oopsie. Sorry, Susato. What's wrong? Miss Susato? Are you thinking about your dad? Oh! Don't flip me! Oh no, ooh, what's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? You flipped me. Nothing. I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but, I'm so sorry, of course. I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet, then? Oh, dear. I'm really very sorry. Oh, so silly. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. But that's hardly surprising, I suppose, considering everything that just happened. She just found out that her father's a partner of a world-famous detective, not to mention possibly cheating. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir, to who? Oh, Zieks! Lord von Zieks. Thank you for all your efforts yesterday. Well, yeah. What? Did I hear that correctly? What? Oh, no, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. Well, he's working on things. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. Just saying. Oh, I forgot. The music is just the music. I can't put it up anymore. But it does definitely sound a bit different. Lord von Zieks isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Good point. The Reaper? I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. It was my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all of this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord von Zieks. It's only because the serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. That having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod to wield a deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. When I lost him... Where did you lose him? At the mall? Sorry, I know he's dead. That's poor taste. Felt as though I lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion, just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you. Lord Clint von Zieks. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. Never thought I'd say this. But I can see it in your eyes, that burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now tell me, Why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air? Oh, Iris, when did you get here? Oh. I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps to clear his head, and it's not full of poison. I thank you. Oh, wow. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. I don't want to see it again. You seem different today, Iris. Less scared. Oh? Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not. What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. Well, it's kind of a big deal. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Seiss' laboratory. All right then, good luck to you both. I have to make a move now. Oh, you're not staying? I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready? For what? Oh, you'll see. Oh, yes. Would you take this? Oh, isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little Hurley that I made once. A Hurley? It looks more like a Hairley to me, because it's a rabbit. If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. What? Pull his ears? That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. It's an explosive. I've been told to pull his ears. You think we'll need this luck? I just sneaked a peek inside of the courtroom. Wait, let me look at this rabbit. What a charming little rabbity version of Mr. Sholmes. Do you suppose this is how Iris sees him? Are you all right, Mr. Naruhodo? You're looking at the poor doll's ears, or burning a hole in them by staring at them. Sorry, I'm just wondering, what do you suppose would happen if I were to tug its ears with all my might right now? I'm sure that we'll find out when the time is right. To become a proper gentleman, you really must learn stoic patience. But I want to know! I want to know now! Look at his little sack and everything. We gotta pull his dang old ears later. I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom, and it seemed very different to normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. I don't know, maybe Strongheart? What does that mean? You'll see. What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris? I don't know. He was out all night and he hadn't come home by the time I left this morning. Oh, I see. Was Professor Mikotoba out all night too, do you think, Miss Susato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. They? Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean. Judge Jigoku, too. That's right, nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. Counsel of the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Runo. Good luck, Susie. Thanks, Iris. I'm gonna need it. And you, Mr. Ripper, I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. We must go inside now, Lord Von Zieks. Lord Von Zieks has always been the formidable prosecutor I had to lock horns with in court. But now he's a cool guy. But not today. Today I battled with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asugi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning, to test my resolve. And then it just plays like electric guitar. Yeah. Okay. Oh, feels even more oppressive here than it did yesterday. There are cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh, what? Lord Strongheart? Oh, this is bad. Oh, great. Kazuma must have known beforehand. That must have been why he said it. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock to the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that the prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial, and one over which I, male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal. You're the one who decides. No witnesses or no juries. The 6 jurors' flames just, as was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. Assuming control, just like Mass Effect 2. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Von Zieks. You were a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. Did you have him killed? I feel like you had him killed. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session for the trial of Barok von Zieks, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense. Are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about, but you did. And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice. Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work, when in fact, he wasn't. At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation, because whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convict's escape. I don't think he did. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He's recovered enough to give us a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the red-headed lead. Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed 1 day earlier. That's stupid. This was based largely on the discovery of the victim's pocket watch that had not been wound. Prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asugi. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. Oh, he's working with me. It's entirely possible that the Inspector Gregson was killed on the 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday that the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movement of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes, especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities. Do I sense that the prosecution have some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. Oh! I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigative work. Well, investigation work, but you know. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. It's Gina. State your name and occupation for the court. Inspector Gina Lestrade, reporting. Representative Scotland Yard. A self-conferred rank, but never mind. Gina, again? What's your problem, Aldo? What's with that Gina again look, eh? Ah, the boss meant the world to me. He'd done more for me than anyone else ever did. Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean? He got me out of the back slums of the East End and took me under his wing. Taught me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him. Oh, Gina. Right. All out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes. No. What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. That face. Lord Strongheart knew. Of course he knew. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report. Coming right up, sir. Down. Witness report. The victim's movements. All Yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search for the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is, there's witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place, too. Okay, well that's pretty, yeah. Smuggled goods? What if they were smuggled bads? I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what was written in the book. Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods from all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe. It's well known that they're disposed of at regular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets? It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge. And do we know where the dealings were taking place at this time? In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentleman's club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter. That can't be! We haven't heard any of this! Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Barok von Zieks, was present. That would be very significant testimony, then. Oh my, but... Lord Van Zieks has made no mention of this, at all! In short, Lord Van Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim. Very well then, counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination. Okay, well... This already seems incredibly damning. Okay, the victim's movements. What they're told. What kind of smuggled goods? Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place? Yep. It was all there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember. As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary. What? It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in the future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings. It's a closed case. Who cares? I don't know what the fuss is about. It's right here. All I've got to do is read it out. And I could too. I've got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Go on. What's the arm? The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? We're gonna insist. Don't wait and see. This is important. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there's some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord. That's not... Oh, what? Prosecution has no objection. Ooh, he's mad! Kazuma? There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not been yet established that he was on this particular trail at this day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. Strongheart don't... He'll remember that. Right, then. I get to show off me reading skills. Apparently, the smuggled goods deal was going to happen at a gentleman's club called The Grouse. That's a gentleman's club? That sounds like the worst gentleman's club. Wait a second. Professor Mika... Oh, wait. Oh, this is... Okay. Steamship ticket. Oh, that... Whoa! The SS Grouse! Okay, I was like... First class cabin 001. Yokohama departure. Wait, so is the Grouse a boat, then? That's the boat that Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jigoku came on from Japan, isn't it? Yes, I think it's called at Dunkirk on the north coast of France for a night before finally arriving in Dover. I think it's been almost a year since we arrived in the Dover on the SS Buria. Seems a shame not to keep your ticket as a memento of your trip, don't you think? Yes, I agree. I keep mine safe in my diary. Keep mine in my wallet so I have it with me at all times. Oh, that's strange. Where could it have gone? You like this on purpose? Okay, yeah. So that has grouse on it. So does that mean I'm...
Objection!
Present it? I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Wow. Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called The Grouse? The police are currently looking for evidence, but I haven't found anything definitive yet. And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think it's a ship? I have the evidence to prove it here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. This would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship, yes? The SS grouse. Oh, hey, that sounds an awful lot like what you just said. So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share the same name with a club. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on the 1st of November. Ah! The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on that day in question, here, on the day in question, 31st of October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores. That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging. The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Then show your evidence for that assertion. Very well. Bonk. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Ba, 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 ba. Oh yeah, the passport. Okay, Tobias Gregson. Departure within 1 week from the 31st of October. Police business. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Okay, so that must have come out, yeah, when I looked in here. Take that! What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim? Dated 31st October? What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just 1 day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. No! Wow. I wonder if the steamship has a refrigerator on it. Order! Order! This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived in Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? I'm impressed. Ryanosuke Naruhodo. Certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? The prosecution's strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations, and that the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. What? Can you say that out loud? And now you've expertly disproven their assertion. I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asugi? The courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts without exception. Let me guess, that was your intention from the outset, wasn't it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. The Reaper? Uh-oh. Order! Order! What on earth are you saying, counsel? Prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. We discovered the location of the man's secret hideout. He was killed. And as I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. Oh, yeah. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper. What? So you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination? What? Barok von Zieks never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi. Oh, so now you're trying to say he's the one who did it. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that was Inspector Gregson? What the hell do you think you're saying, eh? Oh, my boss would never have done something like that. And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense, does it? No, it can't be. We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. Even so, there's no way that person giving him his orders was Lord von Zieks. No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Barok von Zieks is not the Reaper, or an accomplice. A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. Yeah, of course. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh? You have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, Counsel? Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night with the intention of smashing his mark. But his mission ended in failure. Failure? It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector Gina Lestrade. Eh? What? The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination jobs to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey. You're lying. Even if it all is them bludgers what got taken out at it coming. The boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Gina. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you've spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumors. I ain't heard nothing, and I don't believe a word of it. Then testify again as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss. I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook. Okay, fine. Pulling my leg, arm leg, pulling everything. The Reaper's notebook. Yes, this notebook does have a load of stuff about what the Reaper got up to in the past 10 years. You've returned. Welcome back, Kit. Names of victims, dates, and places and stuff. And the last entry in there was the 31st of October. It said grouse for the place on that date, and then the names of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away from the Reaper in the court 10 years ago or something. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all. I believe you. And not just because you're my friend. Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here. Yeah, thanks. This must be so hard for her. Yeah, imagine. You can't deny it now, surely. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What can't I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark and the location of where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could only have known if he was working for the Reaper. Ah! So, who was to be this final mark? Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on the 31st of October. How do you read this then? Reading's still not her strong suit. That ain't the problem, right, Odo? It's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read. So it's someone from overseas? Let me have a bash at it. Seishiro. Is that it? Yeah. Seishiro. Jig-o-kyu, maybe? What? It can't be. Seishiro Jigoku? But that's Judge Jigoku. Seishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name. You're right. But whatever. But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday. Here in London. Uh-oh. So I know for a fact the man hasn't been assassinated, but we haven't seen him since the morning. Okay. As I said, the Reaper failed. Oh. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake, so he killed the inspector, personally. The Reaper of course being the accused, Barok von Zieks. Now, I'm pretty sure it's Lord Strongheart. It's an undeniably logical argument. Hazma, planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you? Oh, von Zieks. It's like, bitch, please. Oh, hey! Leg! Oh, immediate leg! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice whilst I stand accused of murder and putting my big old boot up on the thing. Look, Lord von Zieks! The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective. Eh? What? No, that's right. I ain't. I ain't. Repeating rumors heard around the yard, reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony. It's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I am the Reaper who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself by attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. Oh, what did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance. Slap. My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness. He doesn't look too happy. Very well, I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination. Thanks. Then allow me to toast the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately. Slap. Okay. At once, my lord. Reaper's notebook. In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. Not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out. He's just like, I don't know. If I may, when originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial. But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization. With you at its head? I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I'd been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said grouse? Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate. Alone. Oh, so that explains why several members of the club claimed to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Fine. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh, no, it's all right. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? I feel like we're just gonna have to press. This feels like a press everything moment. Names, especially since I think he's just gonna add to each of the statements. Names of victims, dates, and places and stuff? What in particular? Well, besides the victims' names, this other name kept cropping up. What other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again. You mean Assassin? Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours or something, is she? Were you even listening yesterday? Assassin, the assassin. What? Like a killer, you mean? Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing the plan was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Ah, then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been clearly the assassin who was meant to take Seshiro Jigoku's life? Gina, can you confirm that against the final entry that listed Grouse and Seshiro Jigoku? What name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that I didn't have a name next to it as it happens. What? It just add like a question mark or something there, I think. In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating. Nameless assassin? It's a grouse. And then question mark, yeah. And you're saying that the mark listed was Seshiro Jigoku? That's what it said! Funny name, if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd. So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature. I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago. Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. Sir Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor. Well. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago? After the fateful case. Yeah, a lot of people went back home. Precisely. In the aftermath of the Professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. Jeez, these words. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in ears got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. Well, I guess that's what we're doing. There's a note about him. Yeah, him being a criminal got away with the Reaper. Okay. What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku did once appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course, because he was held in contempt of court. Yes. He got it carried away and got, contemptuous words. And he was charged, but then they dismissed it. Or he got acquitted. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens. You did? It was considered to be an adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you'll start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. Come on, that's absurd, to take someone's life for that? Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd? Killing those who have been found innocent? Except some of them aren't innocent at all. Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension. But... Right, I've had just about enough of this. Gina? All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's cobblers! Come on, Otto. Yes? Why ain't you saying nothing? Why ain't you yelling out objection or something? What? You've got to find a flaw. You do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You got to work out who it is. Please, for the boss. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I had it with a lot of you. It's lies every bleeding place, and you look in this world, innit? Oh, I've had enough. Gina? So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There's one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Oh, do you mean... I'm not gonna let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Okay, time to find the flaw! I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Oh, he said it! He said the word! The gamer word! Oh. Eh? What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What, an inconsistency? Really, Otto? I don't quite know what it means yet, but, yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... Here.
Take that!
By you, Kazuma Asugi. Me? What are you talking about? Is this some attempt at filibustering, counsel? Prosecutor Asugi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting that I said was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. What the hell are you talking about? Very well then, counsel, go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asugi has said? So much stuff. Wait, is it? Not the bunny. Is it the trunk? We haven't talked about the trunk yet. I guess probably the trunk. This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? Certainly very heavy. What's this? A bloodstain? And a relatively fresh one, too. What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips? No, it's not grease, it's blood. Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it, me, with me nose for trouble. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Oh, how did you know? Wait, so the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk? Yeah, exactly. Oh, no. We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection.
But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you? Uh-oh. He's the new assassin. He's the new assassin. Ah, no. At the port of Dunkirk on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Kazuma, what did you... Oh boy. This isn't looking good. Hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it can only have been for one purpose. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. And I gave him his sword back not that long ago. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. And it's definitely a sword tip embedded in it. So it's as it stands, you proved nothing. Kazuma? Are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt? That you were there that day in the same place as the inspector? He was there with Gregson? There's a clue that you've overlooked, a secret that trunk can tell us. Can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify it, but I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found. Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asugi to Inspector Gregson? This thing right here.
Got it!
This is your proof? What do you say to that, Prosecutor Asugi? Personally, I think tying the defense counsel to the inspector's trunk and tossing it into the sea would be more helpful. What? At least that way, London's courtrooms will be safer. What? What do you mean I'm wrong? Oh my god. I have to fucking open it up first? It's so annoying. I guess it's because you can see the tip of it here. You see that? Yeah, there's something... That's so stupid.
Got it!
There we go. Fuck that. A small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade. Eh? A blade? Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma. Of course it is. Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see? Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Oh! Bailiff! Watch Prosecutor Asugi like a hawk. That won't be necessary. Ah, it's chipped! I knew it! It's broken! Oh no. The tip is broken. If the fragment of the metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asugi? Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you and well deserved. Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asugi? Yes, on the 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional persons authorized to travel, or authorized person. Yeah, that was me. Definitely me. Was me. Oh boy. And that mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? What? Come on, Kazuma. You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one. Explain? I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it. We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from where we crossed the Channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but... You already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked to the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Boarding house in Dunkirk? My signature will be in the register book. It will be simple enough to verify. Then, what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. Sure, it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure. causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. We already disproved that, Kazuma. So annoying. Keep pressing this stuff. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer. Actually, you do. Why not? The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. Cool. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. The great sword Karama has been entered into the court record. We must take immediate action now. Well, first let me take a gander at the sword. Karama, the Great Blade. Such a thing of beauty. I want to gaze at it on it for hours. Except for the tip is all broketed. The tip of the great sword. Broken. Such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. You can almost hear Karama's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Guess that's it. To verify whether Sashiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety would arise. Should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Von Zieks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Yeah, haha, take that. Order! Order in the court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. Oh no, Judge Jigoku! No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except that is, for the Reaper of the Bailey, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake, my lord, I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence within the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes. No. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. Felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering, I think you mean careening, towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do now, but wait, we're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. Pull the ears. That's what she said. If things go south, perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Harley's ears. Here goes then. I'm gonna do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Ow! That scream sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here. It's the felt doll talking. Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. All right, then I'll pull all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't have to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Wow, we really have a walkie-talkie? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The SS Grouse? She left Dover last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway in half an hour. You taking a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port. In order to board this vessel in time. So you mean you'd already worked it out? Of course he did. He's the great detective. That the steamship was where everything really took place. Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Herlock Sholmes, world famous great detective. Recited to perfection. Well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow. Miss Susato, gently with this genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes? Hi, Dad. Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday, when we examined that notebook, I recalled my steamship ticket. But of course, it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads, then I am afraid to say. Do not fret, please. It is for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within half an hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operate in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine. Anyway. Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now that the Grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin. Oh, okay, so there's no, like, cut in between. This is this. I guess the first part of the trial in this will be one video, and then there's still more trial, obviously. First class cabin, number 2. Yes, this is the one. Oh, the mousetrap again. But I don't believe any investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Oh, I remember you. Throwback to the very beginning. Why are you loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Why does he have Sholmes written on his arm? Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see? Oh, Chicken Stroganoff. Was his name always that? God, I do not remember. It's been so long. It's been over a year since I played the first game. Great detective. Oh, I don't think so. Although Stroganoff sounds really good. Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes? Or I think it's actually numbers. I think it's like 5231045. So we could look at it like this. I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave now! How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba. I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name on board. We know that he purchased a ticket for passage. Ah, you mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk. Said something about emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Sashir has realized that we're after him, has he? His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please. No! I have orders not to let even mouse inside. Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area. I can hear you. Doesn't Great Detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right? Curses! The plan is ruined, you idiot! You only have yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside. Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock? Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner, how could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man. So the game is afoot. What if I pulled the fire alarm? This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. That seems like a little bit too much. Must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. We're gonna try it. Snap. Choo choo! That sound like big mouse in trap. Choo choo! I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery. I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a choo sound. I don't think that's true. Oh, really, Sholmes? And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make? Pee-pee, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So go ahead, Mikotoba, do a pee-pee this time. No, thank you. I'm sure I can come up with an alternative sound. Ah, the switch for the electric lights. Perhaps if I turn off the lights, the crewman wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. Flick the switch. Click. Ah! What is happening? Where is light? Now, Sholmes, now! He also can't see. The dump. Click. Nobody there. That was a close shave. Quite a knack you have, stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor. Do be quiet, Sholmes. Shall have to think of another approach. Maybe, I guess I'll just have to do this. Set it off. Okay, here goes then. Pardon me in advance. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Oops. You! What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff! Report at once! Shh. Sorry, sir, nothing to report. It was just stupid trick. No, not by me, by world famous. No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now! Okay, done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotoba. In we go. Oh, yes. Okay. Well. Fire alarm is the way to go. Oh, whoa. There was definitely something on the wall there before. Oh, it's this cabin again. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. Unless he's inside that clothes on the floor there. They're Sashiro's without question. Maybe he's inside the chest, because all his clothes are on the floor. Well, it seems we're a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may. Which makes this all the more thrilling. Why is this stuffed? There's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Or indeed, so the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Did something happen in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that or, could be to prevent snakes from entering. It's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? This is the waste paper basket. Look, there's still rubbish inside. Indeed? Then let us pry. I've discovered recently that I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Ah. Here we have the notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago? Oops. The night before we arrived in London then, when I was still aboard myself. Evacuation drill notice. Following the departure from the port of Dunkirk, all excuse me. Okay, there's an evacuation notice. Wow, thanks for going on ahead, game. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers are constantly under a watchful eye of the crew. So it's a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. Evacuation drill has been added into the court record. I can't access the court record here. Why the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it... Is something wrong, Sholmes? You've suddenly trailed off. Ice, Mikotoba, ice! What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks. Pardon? So, there's a refrigerator on the boat. Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think? Well, it's a luxury liner after all. They have an enormous refrigerator for storing all sorts of lavish products, as well as ice. And dead bodies? On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mikotoba, the sight of you is making my mouth water. What? I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. It's a weird thing to say. Okay. That's a very sizable trunk indeed. Sashiro is partial to all things large. And rather a clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you think, but still a hindrance to his speedy escape. Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now, the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. Yep, Sholmes. It's not Sholmes. It's 52314005. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. Well, I already know what it is, though. I know the combination. Ugh, it's terrible. Plenty of reading material to keep passengers occupied on the long sea voyages. Found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say. Whoever stuck this bookcase was a hopeless heretic. There's no copy of The Adventure of Herlock Sholmes, my dear fellows. I'm afraid it's just me, but no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible. I shall leave a copy behind. Just happen to have one with me. You're a true missionary from the Church of Great Detectives, aren't you? Oh, a slightly different color here. Just here, do you see? Indeed. What you have observed arise when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries as of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? The outline on the wall. I feel as though I've spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Oh, so they screwed that one onto the wrong side. You are still here? Ah, Abel Seaman Stroganov, hello. I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. Eh? You are waiting for me? Of course, I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before. Poor innocent chicken. It's all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow, but first, there's something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Kakoi! I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. Ah! And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganov, you know exactly where the man is even as we speak, don't you? How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes, you mean you worked it out, all of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more. Okay, here we go. What is this? We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Here we go. Is the real deal. The time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganov, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. My back pillow was like really riding up. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. Ah, that is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? See what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. Been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite! Now all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe and the answers become clear. So, do impress me. I think I can manage that. Glass containing ice? Because it's not done yet. Like, it's not melted. Excuse me? Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass? How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it having abandoned 2 hours ago. Ah! It would appear that our man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Sashira run from us? Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? Ah, that's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door and Sashira was, yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Holmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure you won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place here. It's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place are being masked by something quite incongruous. Must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite, but life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if we can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow.
Take that!
That might be wrong. But also, it looks like they unscrewed it from one side and screwed it on the other side to cover something. It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall is if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, I'm sure you've already concluded that the frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. Ah, you are right. When did frame move? Hardly the most observant of the crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Arr! Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall? Bullet hole! That looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. Arr! I had the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger? I don't know, for money. Oh, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. Arr! I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? So some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense, as clearly shown by... I don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes. Ah, my dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'll put a wager on it. I'm gonna glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I can certainly do that. The tattoo.
Take that!
Oh, not right. Mikotoba, no games now. Oh. Wow. Oh, money. He probably has money in his pocket. Oh my god, that is a lot of money. What a banknotes. Okay, it was the other side of him. Tappies. It's almost too obvious for words the second time around. Quite the universal language of the world. Money. Ah! And I'd wager that Eastern fellow in question is Sashira Jigoku. Yes? God! So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. Is Jigoku the new Reaper of the Bailey? What is happening? Because that lady did show up dead, but she was shot by somebody else, supposedly. You know where Mr. Jigoku's hiding. Yeah, this precise moment in time. And as always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. Slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention. Even that, which is barely perceptible. You can hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. Yeah, he's just like looking directly at the trunk. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Truth is, Sashira Jigoku is unable to escape from the ship in time. And is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. If he still has breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. Combination lock can't be opened from the inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff. No, I know nothing about this combination code. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Oh? Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors of open the trunk? How on earth do you expect me? It's a 7-digit number, remember? Quickly now, we have little time. Okay, not 3. 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4. Wait, because it's just Sholmes backwards, right? Yeah. 5231045.
Take that!
Yeah! Click. That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? Ah. Why are you in there? Well, Eugen, you found me now. Sashiro. Okay. I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it was some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Sashiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey, yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. Somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. I feel like he paid a lot of money. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Wow, rude. Well, I don't care for your opinion. Jigoku, why are you being such a dick? The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I've seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else from taking this cabin and seeing evidence. Is that it? Oh. Yujin, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, the ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Seshiro. Take it. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Yujin. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Sashiro? Can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. Small machine part that Mr. Sholmes found in Judge Jigoku's cabin on the SS Grouse. Okay. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. Wait, it immediately brings... What? It just takes me straight back in here? There's no, like, saving in the final... Is it just one long freaking thing? Oh, God. Kazuma Asagi. I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. That's untrue. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict. I guess we have to hear back from them. Yeah, objection. No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. Court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony. And there can only be one conclusion. The accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord, tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? It's Jigoku! Sashiro Jigoku, I knew it. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jigoku, you found him? Why do you sound so surprised? But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead. What do you mean he's already dead? You just assumed that. How, in the name of God, did you find the man? Oh, with a little help from my friends. He was located in France during the recess at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Sherlock Sholmes's famous deductions. Sherlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with prosecutor Asugi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Sashiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call an end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side. No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. To be continued? Okay, my goodness. Save progress. Yes, please. Investigation. Did we do investigation? Wait just a second, because I don't think it's time for The unexpected halt to proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. Yeah, I don't want to finish this video yet. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. Okay, yeah, so still investigative phase. 3rd November, 8:07 p.m., Sholmes' suite. Look at all that! They made a feast! We have returned, my dear fellows! Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I, no? You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor Asagi had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. He's just a man with a mission. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I mean, it's incredible to think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now, yeah. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. Also, let me check the court record. Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. in order to review evacuation procedures. This drill will take 20 minutes. Okay, so there's evacuation drill. There's a button. You see these little things all over the place, don't you? It's part of the top of a pocket watch that you twist to set the time, isn't it? Oh! It's called the crown, I believe. A watch would be quite useless without one. The crown, like what sits on top of a monarch's head, that's a very grand name for such a tiny part. Okay, and this is the missing bit of the watch. But actually, yes, Mr. Naruhodo, if this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Okay. So now that I have that, can I put it on there? What do you think, Miss Susato? I feel sure I know exactly what will fit here. Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing. We're about to see that little round component is actually a part of Inspector Gregson's broken pocket watch. Really, I was just thinking precisely that too. And chakunk! Oh, it is! A perfect fit! I knew it! Alright, perhaps you knew it. I'll make a note of this new information at once. Oh, okay, it's his missing crown, which was with Jigoku for some reason. Okay, so, that's good to know. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes, so what news of Judge Jigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba, this must be quite a shock for him. Ah, yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way back home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had a reply already? What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone. Ah, what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kipper, stew, steak, and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding, turkey. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, it's pheasant. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not here. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy. Oh, for me? That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Oh, about the dad. Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half sisters, I mean. Oh, oops. Oopsie. Iris, do you mean? Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened in on the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. Wow. Okay. What? Okay, cool, Iris. Don't trust this woman. The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. Oh, what? Okay. What? Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I know. You can't tell me at the moment. God damn it. Oh, Iris. Okay, so the pheasant is by way of apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Also, the punchy chest hand that almost killed you. Oh, no. That's quite all right. Then why don't I get any apologetic pheasant? So just who is Iris's father? Suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. And then it's male Strongheart. So then let us dine while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. There's enough pheasant to go around. Fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like. There's always seconds. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan and about Kazuma. Can't let this opportunity slip away. Dinner looks great. Roast beef, kipper stew, steak and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. It looks mouth-wateringly good. Indeed it does! And if we're accompanied by even a morsel of pheasant, it would be perfection. Still on that, the pheasant is huge, bro. Oh, it really does look like a feast for celebrating a victory in court. Or indeed for drowning one's sorrows after defeat. I hope you weren't referring to the trial tomorrow, Mr. Sholmes. He's clearly still in mourning over the pheasant at the moment. Okay. Let's go talk to him. Don't put your feet on the couch. God, what's wrong with you? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Sulking. He is sulking. He's literally just sulking. Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I played the role of father to you for far longer. Gross. Mr. Sholmes, can I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game. Game? What game? I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You didn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? Pity. Seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. I'm gonna fucking kill you, bro, if you keep making these puns. What? Okay. Converse. Telegram from Japan. Tell me. So what was in the telegram you received back from Japan, then? This, I thank my lucky stars, it arrived in time. Record 4 as found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names. We've come across that exact same list before. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. Oh, yeah, with the dead man in the back of the pawn shop. Turned to be a simple case of aggravated murder, turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered the fragment of the message. Keosogi Asian, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. We didn't find the names until the case was over. We never did get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So why are the names coming up again now? Yes. Where did the sender of your telegrams discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here in the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? And in my name? Wonder what guise he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Sashiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. I did formulate a hypothesis on that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Okay. Kazuma's death. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Buria, it was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We're completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Miss Susato. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangement between our 2 countries was already in place. 1 university student, lawyer, and 1 judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma to coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? Terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In light of Mr. Asagi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is 1 lawyer, and the study tour can continue, surely. There's no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. Wow, so he masterminded this stuff from the beginning. What the hell, man? So, you manipulated me. I've often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived, I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as a murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. Seem to remember Miss Susato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. Oh, I made sure of it. Okay, so I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see. Oh! An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand. Need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. What do you mean, what he knows? So what does this mean? There's no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Shigoku's office that should be searched, so you obviously knew that that's where the list of names would be found. Kaosogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learned that there's 4 names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as a part of top-secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, that you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets, because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on the communications from between the British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line. Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Oh God, again? You were on again? Okay, I thought you were doing so. Hi, welcome back. We're about to finish up the next bit of investigation. Welcome on in, everybody. How are you doing? Hopefully everything went good. More Pokemon? Mr. Sholmes, please tell us all you know. Only to be here. Oh no. I was about to say. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they are all somehow connected. Okay, well, they're trying to kill them off. Oh my god, come on. Thank you so much for the follow here on The Rock. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names because, you see, there was someone else on the list who I believe to be recently deceased. Playing the fan game Pokemon Infinite. Oh yeah, isn't that the one that you can get some really cursed stuff from? I mean, the fusion thing is already like kind of terrifying, but yeah. Someone else on the list who I believe to be recently deceased. What? Who? A. Shin. As it was transcribed in Japanese script, in actual fact, Miss Asashin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes, and her name was Asashin. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Kei Asagi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. But I determined it would be safest if young Asagi were to stay away from Britain. So that's why you went through such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes. Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. Oh, and you didn't help. You didn't tell us nothing. I'd recounted many tales about Asagi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. Not Dad. So Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Oh, Iris, sorry. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. So sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the names, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes. You mean about Asa Shin, I presume. So recovering from the... Oh, yeah, probably a good idea. Hopefully things heal up soon and don't get agitated as much. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding these 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Oh, God. What do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? Stop speaking in cute British words. I had believed all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asa Shin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? Indeed, and it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson, her visiting student status being merely a front. Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason why Dr. Wilson was killed by Asa Shin is because he was the target of an assassination. And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the 4 who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean... But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Oh, he did say in court earlier today. Yeah, he went with him to do the assassination mission. Young Mr. Asagi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that? He hasn't killed anybody, I think. Oh my gosh, this just keeps getting weirder. Let's assume that we have 2 parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. These 2 parties make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. Totally a thing that people do. So to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But What on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our new countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. Highest levels? Like the Crown? Lord Strongheart? These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, but by contractual agreement. As such, as they appeared completely unrelated, yet in truth the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That dissociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. Wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean the Japanese killer's target was never Sashiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the mark. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition. That he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. That's what she said. I think that's it. All right, everyone. That's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Ah, quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is a little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Please don't say it like that. I know you're 10. Because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris, but that's not how that works. I can still be your big sister. I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Oh, geez. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh, yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know how to throw Runo to the floor? No. No! No, no! Yes, of course, it would be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's gonna be my big sister, then that means Runo's my big brother. You could be my big brother if you want, Runo. No. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Wow, I agreed to that way quicker than I thought I would. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Right, I'm going to work extra hard tomorrow now because it's for my big brother and sister. Cool. What is all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Prepping for war? You'll just have to wait and see. Oh, cool. Good luck tomorrow in court. I'm expecting a sterling performance. Do my very best, of course. Is this finally the end of the investigative portion? So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths while posing new conundrums. Yeah, you threw a lot of information at me. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved? I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have all my friends, the most wonderful family in the world, standing steadfastly behind me. Ew. Gross. Love and friendship. To be continued. Trial part 2, I think. Yeah, but that's where we're going to finish up for the day. That was another like 2 hours of trial and little investigation bit and all that. And now we have basically everything we need to finish this up. But I feel like the last couple of sections, I think that's going to be like another 8 hours. But we did make it through episode 4, and we're in. Wait, this is episode 6. There's 6. It says, oh, final is final. I don't know why I thought, oh, wait, no, that's great. Sorry. They call it final here, and they call it episode 5 for the first one. I got confused. Anyway, yeah. But that's what we're going to call it for tonight. Oh, goodness.